Hi friends, this is Caitlin and today I'm sharing my last Christmas card video with you for 2022. How crazy is that? So I saw Tim Holtz do a really fun technique using the Distress Watercolor Pencils from Ranger on solid stamps, and so I have been dying to do this, but I didn't have any stamps that I thought would work well with this. Nothing was inspiring me, and then I got this full circle stamp set from My Favorite Things, and I instantly knew that I wanted to turn these into ornaments with this technique. I've seen Tim Holtz do it, I've seen Jem Sharkus do it, and I will link both of them down in the description below in case you haven't seen either of those videos, but I was so inspired by both of them. I did kind of tweak it to fit my own style and what I have, my supplies. But this is so fun, and if you've been thinking about trying it out, I'm telling you, it's so worth it. So I am using the Distress Watercolor Pencils set number 2. I am wetting my pencils in a little measuring cup of water over on the side there, and then literally just drawing and scribbling on my stamp. So you can see there, I did also spray a little bit of water, and then this is where catastrophe almost struck. I hit the side of one of my pencils with my Misty Door, and you can see the red is getting everywhere and it's not coming off. At the end, I will show you how I cleaned it in case this ever happens to you. So I did do a couple layers. I did see that when Tim and Jen did this kind of technique, that if you take too long, the pencils do kind of start to dry out. The pigment dries out on your stamp. So that's why I sprayed it that first go through. But I realized very quickly that I didn't need to do that. I was working with such a small stamp and, it transferred just fine. So I went in with that bigger one using the red, orange, and yellow from the set. And then for this kind of medium stamp, I'm going in with yellow, green, and blue. I'll have all of the colors, the specific colors from the set listed down below that I used. But I do love that these sets kind of come in different rainbow orders so that no matter what set you get, if you only get one or two, you have a full color palette to use. I really love that about these because I still have not decided if I want the other two sets. If I can keep making fun projects like this, I will probably get at least one more set. But I have to make sure that I'm really going to use them first. And this is only like my second or third time playing with these because Copics just come a little more naturally to me, I guess. So for my smallest little ornament, I am adding in the purple, and which is Seedless Preserves, and the red, just to kind of finish our gradient across. I just love these. This one did get a little bit sloppy. I added a little bit too much water and for how small the stamp was. So you can see I kind of just wiped off the excess and re-stamped it without anything on my stamp, just to help kind of push that pigment and that water back around so I didn't get that giant blob in the middle. So I did heat set this because I wanted to heat emboss it, and I didn't want my embossing powder sticking to all of the wet watercolor. I should also say I'm working on the rough side of Distress Watercolor paper, and yeah. So this full circle stamp set also comes with the patterns that we used earlier this week in my other video. I will link that or put a little card here. If you missed that, you should definitely check that out. It's super fun to be able to use the same stamp set twice in 1 week with two very different results. So check that out. So I am using my embossing powder or embossing ink, and then this icicle glitter embossing powder from Pink and Main, which is absolutely stunning and is this just beautiful iridescent white glitter. And I'm going in with it kind of at an angle or a little bit lopsided because the pattern doesn't exactly fit each of those circles. And so I wanted to make it look even more intentional that it kind of didn't fit. So I went out of my way to make sure that things weren't centered up. And I think it just really helps to add to this kind of more rustic or artsy feel that the watercolor and that textured paper gives to the overall project. So I use the same stamp for both of the smaller ornaments. The stripes, I just did one kind of sideways and one more up and down. And it was just so much fun to make this. Normally my cards are very color heavy. This went so fast. This whole card took me 36 minutes, and that was with me taking like multiple pauses to figure out what kind of pattern paper I wanted to use. You could see for a minute I thought I was pulling in stripes. I did not end up pulling in any stripes. I just used this really beautiful like linen textured, well, it's a print, it's not actually textured, paper from My Favorite Things. I just love how the red fits with the red on the ornaments. And I'm trimming down my panel now. This took a minute. I was kind of going back and forth about how much to trim off, how much of a border I wanted. And I decided that I did like the red color with these, but I wanted to have a dark matte all the way around. So I am just solidly trimming from this. I think what I ended up with was a full inch off the whole way around. I'm pretty sure I ended up at 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. I think. I'm pretty sure that's right. And then I just cut my mat to be 1/4 inch bigger so that I would have that really nice thin mat the whole way around, just to kind of ground everything and bring a little bit of weight, because those ornaments are just kind of floating in that white space. So I went in with my Tombow mono adhesive just because I knew it would be strong enough to help hold that watercolor paper in place. It did warp a tiny bit from my heat tool. And then I grabbed this really thin marker, and I am going in with my Simon Says Stamp Tea ruler. I love this thing. It's so little and it's perfect. And I'm adding in the ornament strings, just literally creating straight lines. And I've seen a lot of people add bows, and I decided I did not want bows because of the embossing that was on my ornament. So I'm just going in to add the little ornament top, just scribbling in, just drawing literally a rectangle, scribbling, filling it in. And I just love this. I love how easy this was. I love how cute it is. You could totally make these in bulk and just what are those things called? Conveyor belt. Like, just line them up and have them going. You could absolutely do that. Just pick an afternoon and create. So because I was going with such a bold black and white kind of story here with the accents on this card, I decided to grab these reverse sentiments from Simon Says Stamp. They're holiday ones. I did trim out a couple different options because I wasn't exactly sure what was going to look nice. And I knew I wanted to put the Merry Christmas up at the top over the strings, and I just wasn't sure what was going to go down at the bottom. So I did have a couple different things. You can see I store all of mine in one envelope. I think I'm going to have to start splitting them up by occasion though, because that envelope's getting really full. And then I went in with my 100 Copic marker. Normally I use a water-based marker for this, but I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it. So now I have to go buy a new cheap water-based marker for edging all of my little reverse sentiments, because I do use them decently often. And I'm going in with the thin foam squares from also Simon Says Stamp. I like these, and I love that they're black, so if any peeks out, you won't even notice. And I added the smaller sentiment to the bottom right corner. That's the direction. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, Christmas is kicking my butt this year. I'm just a little bit out of it. So I put the smaller sentiment on the bottom. I used that T-square ruler again to make sure that my sentiment was lined up at the top. Merry Christmas I put off center over to the left to balance that out. And then you can see my table's clean now. My desk is clean. I use the archival ink cleaner. It's get this stuff. If you ever have any kind of ink sticking to your desk or sticking to your Misty or any of your acrylics or anything like that. I don't know what's in this, but it will literally clean anything. It took that red stain right off and all that extra gunk, but we're being real, right off of my desk. So 10 out of 10. Recommend if you get messy with your pencils. So I hope you enjoyed this somewhat weird ride as we got to this card. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so grateful for you. I hope that you have an amazing holiday weekend. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Happy crafting.